Mars 2060 is a podcast designed to be listened to in chronological order. If you're just joining us now, please go back and start with episode 1.
This is Megan speaking with Kate Donahue from her office at ISA headquarters in Washington, D.C. Kate is one of the field supervisors who worked on the excavation. She was in charge of leading the dig around the riverbed.
I've always loved the water, by the way. I lived by it my whole life. Even on Mars, they couldn't keep me away.
How did it work with the excavation? Were you divided into teams based on territory?
We all worked on all parts of the dig, but since my specialty lies in large bodies of water, it was decided that I would be the supervisor on that portion.
The river wasn't a part of the initial excavation, was it?
Not exactly. We started with the rock structure. Once we had dug down deep enough along it, we came to the riverbed.
So was that a surprise to the team?
Oh, gosh, no. We'd known it was there since the second ship visited in 2040. That team was only on Mars for 10 days, but they brought very advanced imaging equipment with them that detected minerals underground, indicating that a river once flowed there.
Wow, so if you knew it was there, why would you need to dig it up?
The mystery stems from the original structure that we had been investigating. The advanced stonework wall stretched all the way to the river's edge. We wanted to find out if it continued as a levee all along the river as we tried to prove whether or not this wall was naturally made.
The other option is that someone built it, right?
Or something. What I mean is that the wall we initially researched appeared to have had help. The way the pieces fit together so intricately would be difficult for nature to do. If that was the case, I needed my team to find out if the river that ran through it could have had help too. Was the wall formed by the flow of the river, or was it built there on purpose to put boundaries on it? You look suspicious.
Well,
There's a possibility that this could be not so different from waterways on Earth. Think of the ancient Grand Canal in China. That was built connecting many different river systems. I'm not saying I believe that this river wasn't already there in the exact footprint it left. I'm saying you have to look at all possibilities.
Imagination is key to this job, isn't it?
Imagination makes everything possible. Think of the things that wouldn't exist or we wouldn't understand if there wasn't anyone to imagine them first. It's all speculation. The proof will be in the pudding.
Yeah. Do you remember the day you guys reached the riverbed?
It was around the 1-year anniversary. Just thinking about it still puts shivers down my spine. That was the day the keys were handed over to me. In some ways, I wish we could have worked on the wall longer. I didn't know if I was ready. There was a bigger part of me, though, that wished that we could have jumped right into digging instead of taking a month to survey and map it out. Seeing the salt deposits on the rock was enough to make my heart skip. If you talk to any of us, we will each have a story for when it all felt real for us. And that was the day for me. The water, even if it was just the ghost of it, is what finally connected me to Mars. It was a dry riverbed, as you know, no rushing water, but for me, getting to set my feet down where water used to flow was like getting to plug in.
Do you ever think of going back?
You know, after I got sick, I fought to stay. But now I'm actually grateful they made me return to Earth. I wasn't built for Mars.
None of us actually were.
Not yet, anyway.
This is Megan speaking with Rebecca Amsler-Klein and her wife Yael from their home in New York City. They were 2 of the crew members who worked on the underground structure. They discussed the preparations for their 1-year anniversary on Mars.
My wife Yael and I were part of the team that worked on the underground structures of the permanent habitat. We called ourselves the erection crew.
Who thought of that name?
It was a group decision. Okay, I may have been the initiator.
So, was it you who came up with the name for the 1-year anniversary as well?
The ultimate? Yeah, that was me.
Did you all help plan it?
Yeah, we put together a talent show. People worked on songs and dances and skits. We also filmed a short video for the press. Yael and I made bracelets for everyone out of old rope. They were a big hit.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were recording. Hi.
It's okay, come in. You can talk. I'll rest. This is Megan.
Yael, nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you. Of course, sorry, have a seat. Rebecca, we can stop and pick up the recording later if you need a break.
No. Yael is here. She doesn't mind doing the talking.
Not at all.
Okay, but please let me know. So we were talking about the bracelets you and Rebecca made for the ultimate.
Not the most elegant jewelry. More like camp friendship bracelets.
Everyone wore them, though.
It's true. They got pretty grungy. We actually had to promise to make new ones and send them up for those who are still there.
Did the ISA have anything in particular they wanted you to show for the press?
They were hoping for a virtual tour of a couple of the underground rooms. We were putting in 16-hour days the month leading up to it just to try to get one room far enough along. A few weeks before, I was in what was going to be one of the labs with another crew member, Oliver. Just to give you a quick picture, underground there was a main circular cavern area and hallways spread off of it in all directions, like spokes on a wheel. Anyway, we were in the rec room working on the doorway when the supports gave way. It started at the bottom and quickly covered the entrance, our only way out. It happened so quickly we couldn't react fast enough. We were stuck. Everything got very quiet, quieter than usual.
What did you do? Did you panic?
Not at first. We had someone monitoring us from the temporary hub above. We also had our suits on, which meant we still had about 2 hours of oxygen left. We figured we'd be out of there in less than 45 minutes. But 45 minutes passed and there was no movement. That's when we panicked. After about an hour...
1 hour and 7 minutes.
I know. Yeah, so after 67 minutes, we heard Steve Majors shouting at us. He had us stand on the opposite side of the room while him and Rebecca dug. At first, the wall just kept collapsing more dirt just rushed in. It felt like we were getting further and further away from them. But soon, they cleared enough away for us to get out.
Were you guys injured?
No, luckily we were fine. They made us go to the infirmary. Hey, stop it. Infirmary as a precaution, but all that was damaged was our nerves. It turns out one of our members, Miki Sato, was suffering from asthenia. People call it the long stare, and she wasn't paying attention.
Did that cause conflict between you guys?
My initial reaction was anger, but I knew she felt awful, and I also realized we were at fault for not taking care of her. She shouldn't have been assigned to the monitors. Our whole team holds responsibility for what happened.
Did you two like working together on the erection crew?
You told her what we called ourselves?
What? That's what it was.
Yeah, but it's pretty... That's Becca's reminder to get back on her oxygen. She can't be off it for more than 2 hours.
Oh, of course. Thanks so much for taking the time. If you don't mind my asking one last question, are you expected to have a full recovery?
My lungs got very damaged. But I am one of the lucky ones. I'm still here.
This is Jenna interviewing Tara Jennings from the Rec Room of Colony 1. Tara is a chemical engineer in charge of producing and storing rocket fuel. She shares how she helps keep the crew's morale up. Your job sounds like it would be scary at all times.
It can be. My motto is slow and steady and never rush. And I have so much experience with the electrolyzer at this point, I'm pretty comfortable with it.
Is it complicated, or do you think you could tell me how it works?
No, it's actually a pretty simple concept. The electrolyzer takes in water, separates the hydrogen and oxygen, and creates rocket fuel.
Okay, that sounds strangely simple.
Okay, well, there's a little bit more to it, but that's the gist. Old Bessie and I know each other really well. We're sort of like friends now.
Is that right? And you named it Old Bessie?
Yes. You think I would be embarrassed to tell you this, but I talk to her regularly. I like to think she enjoys my stories.
Mm-hmm. I've actually heard that you tell a lot of stories. You've got quite a fan club up here.
Well, storytelling has always helped me get through difficult situations. I guess it seemed like something that would be helpful again when we were settling into our new lives out here. I started telling stories about home and people I knew, but it got to me, and it seemed to have that effect on a lot of us. So I switched to stories that were entirely fiction, like really ridiculously fiction.
So did you tell a story at the Ultimate?
Well, I started us off with a premise, but for the celebration, I wanted everyone to feel like a part of the story. This team is all a part of a tale that's never been told. Before us, any story that sounded anything like what our lives actually are would be science fiction. And it felt important to me that we acknowledge that. We're pioneers. We deserve a good, triumphant story.
What was it about?
We were a group of people who discovered a new island, but our island had traps and bad guys hiding in trees. It was dangerous. And then we went around the room and everyone told a piece of the story. I recorded it actually, but I haven't listened to it since.
So how did it end?
Well, the team defeats the bad guys and sets up lawn chairs along the beach. They recline with their coconut drinks and toes in the sand and watch the sunset. It was a really great time, and we definitely earned it. That first year was crazy.
You all seem so close, like there's a lot of trust among you.
Yeah. I've heard that nothing brings people together like bonding over a common enemy.
Mars is your enemy.
Not Mars. Death. It's everywhere here, waiting for you and me right outside that airlock. We get up every morning and suit up together. It's our armor. We eat terrible food, drink water that was flushed down a toilet not too long before, and live in a hole in the ground to survive. And this is gonna sound weird, but we're used to it now. Have you ever heard stories about prisoners who've been in jail for a long time and they freak out when they're released back into the world? Like, they don't even know how to function.
Yeah, it's an odd situation to consider. You'd think that they'd fly off like free birds.
Not if they've gotten used to walking. Sometimes I wonder if that's what it would feel like if I went back to Earth now. I'm so used to our routine and constrictions, it can be tiresome, but it's normal. If I went back, I think I'd have a panic attack every time I opened my front door. I'd probably have to adjust slowly and live in my basement, wear pieces of my suit every time I left the house.
Have you talked to anyone that's gone back to Earth?
Not since they landed. We communicated with them during their flight home, but haven't heard much after that. Not that I blame them.
From everything I've been told, the situation here sounds like it could have been a work of fiction, like one of your stories.
Yeah, but it's not a story I ever want to be a part of again.
Next time on Mars 2060.
We found all 3 boulders with the markings in the same day.
Getting to be out in nature, even if it's Mars's version, helped me like nothing else could.
We turned off our headlamps and looked up through the skylight to the stars, and it was so quiet.
I'll tell you that a lot of the things we thought could go wrong didn't. Some of them did, and we dealt with it. But for over 2 years we were fine. And then we weren't. It was hell.